What's up, guys? Welcome to yet another Fresh Build Friday. God, this thing is dumb. This is the TFV12 on the RX 300, which I will have a review coming in soon once I can get the rebuildable post for it. But this thing is so ridiculous. Anyway, for today, we're going to cover a very important build in the industry, something that boosts flavor tremendously. It's easy to build, it's nice and quick, and it wraps just like a single round wire coil. So that's right, for today we're going to cover the Clapton coil. So, without much more bullshitting and talking over myself, let's go ahead and jump down and start building. So, what you will need for the build today: a drill to actually straighten your wire and wrap that Clapton, the mod you will be powering the RDA with, the RDA itself, which in this case we're going to be using the Avocado 22mm just because it's a really good flavor RDA. And personally, I've never just built Claptons on it. You'll need your large gauge wire and your small gauge wire, a screwdriver to wrap your coil around, your wire cutters, pliers, and then whatever tool is necessary to open up your posts and tighten your wire down. So let's get into it. First, we're going to take our 24 gauge core wire, pull off some of that. We want to do about, let's say 2 feet-ish of wire, just enough to make 2 coils out of. Clip it off, try not to drop it. Feed it back into the spool, put it off to the side, and then straighten it. So next you want to take your 32 gauge wire, pull about 4 to 5 feet off, and then what we're going to do is stick it right in the chuck of the drill. Now for me, this doesn't have to be extremely tight, because what I like to do after this is give it a couple wraps to start the actual Clapton. As you see, I'm just wrapping it manually. What we'll do is put some power behind it and just get this Clapton started. Now when you're making a Clapton, what you want to try to do is wrap the smaller gauge wire around the larger gauge wire, in turn making it look like a guitar string, which is where it gets its name Clapton, because of Eric Clapton. So what we're going to do, the way I like to do it, is wrap it to where the wire falls over. This allows this core wire to be held very easily in your fingers, and you can guide this smaller gauge wire across with ease. So we'll start out slow. And whenever you're wrapping, go ahead and use your fingernail. You can see I messed up there by not really paying attention. So go ahead and use your fingernail to apply pressure between the wrapping wire and the core wire. You can see I'm starting to get a good wrap there. So we'll go ahead and speed things up a bit. And there I messed up. Now if this happens, you reverse the drill, you pull on the smaller gauge wire, you can actually undo those wraps, as you saw me do there. We'll switch the direction again and get back to wrapping. After a little while, there will be a groove in your finger, and the drill should slowly start to push away from your hand. There shouldn't be too much effort there. Go ahead and speed things up a little bit. I'll fast forward through this, because this will just be the same thing throughout the rest of the process. Now if you look closely, you might be able to tell that I have a solid wrap here, but then it starts to become a little spaced out. So what we do to actually get rid of that is we'll take the wire and push it in against itself. So you'll grab the end and just kind of trace your fingers a couple times as if it's a spring and your job is to compress it. And once you're done, what you should have is a perfectly solid clapton coil. Clip this off where the wrap is continuous. One thing that you can see that I have done is I've taken the core, scooted it back on the wire a little bit, and then bent over the edge. What this helps with is as you're wrapping it around the screwdriver, this core wire tends to fall inside of the actual clapton spring, and this will just keep that from happening. So we'll take our screw, start from the back, and wrap. Today we're going to do 2 6-wrap coils, so I'll knock the other one out, catch back up with you with the RDA. So before we install our coils, we'll take the time to get rid of that little hook that I made to keep the claptons on there. And go ahead and do that on the other one as well. Then we can install it. Now this style of post that you see is what's known as a velocity post, because the first RDA to have this was the actual velocity. So cool thing about this one is it has room for the lead going over the screwdriver and the lead going under the screwdriver, and that keeps your coils nice and flat when you're installing them. Go ahead and pop that in, tighten our connections. Stick our screwdriver back through, level out that coil, push it more towards the center. This also compresses the coil, gets any of those gaps out, and at the same time we'll pull it away from that middle. And there you go, one coil installed. Let's go ahead and install the next one. Now I've gotten that other coil tightened in there and all fastened in. But here's one of my favorite parts about the velocity post, or the deck set. You can see that I have leads coming out from the bottom and from the top, but they're also right to the side of the coil. I don't have one going in the back like most other 3 or 4 post decks. So what we can do is go ahead and reach in behind there and clip off those leads. There's no need to cut before you install, like you saw in my previous video. And you'll still see there's a little bit that's still on there. So what we do to combat that is take our pliers and just go ahead and squeeze it against that post. This one will ensure that it doesn't get in the way or make any shorts. Now that's flush with the post. Can't even really see it. Do the same on the other side. I found this method also reduces the likelihood of shorts even when you're just messing with round wire. Now it's flush, won't get in the way of the cotton or anything like that. So now we want to work out those hot spots in the coils. So we'll take our pliers. First, let's see how it heats up. A little smoky. I did just clean this, so there might be a little water residue on the actual RDA. You'll see there's a lot of hot spots there. So we'll just strum the coils lightly. Take our screwdriver back through it. Just kind of wiggle it around. Make sure everything's working nicely. And we're actually going to turn up the power on this a little bit. Cool thing about this device is it just has a potentiometer. Instead of wattage up and wattage down buttons, you just turn a dial to how you like to vape. Still a couple hot spots. Almost gone. Lift that one up a little bit. Ah, that was hot. Burned myself a little bit. Our connection is backing out a little bit, so we'll go ahead and tighten that guy up. Almost there. It's just a couple of hot spots. Look at that, nice and even. So, we'll let this cool down, then we'll go ahead and wick it up. So I have my strips of cotton. We'll roll the ends. Feed it through the coil. Grab it on the other side. Make sure it's resistant, but not too resistant. And just right. Do the same on the other side. Sorry about the black under my fingernail, it's kind of bruised, stubbed in the door of my car. Feed it through. Now, here's where the tricky part starts. So what I recommend doing is measuring out your cotton to where it sticks through just about here. So there's just enough to pick up the liquid, but it's not going to be constantly soaking in it. And whenever you have your cotton reach all the way down to the bottom of this juice reservoir, you're going to end up just clogging it and it won't feed very efficiently. So what I like to do is, just like the RDA, we'll take it, go off at about a 45-degree angle, cut. Same on this side. Cut. And repeat on this side. So now we have our little strip of cotton already cut out. Take our tool and just go ahead and push all of that down into those wick holes. Be sure to fluff it out a little bit. Make sure some air can get out whenever it's feeding that liquid. Push that last bit in. Now, to fill it up, it's a little bit trickier. So we'll take this side, pull that cotton out. We'll grab the juice that I will be using, which is a combination of our Dairy Dude and gremlin grams, so it's like a nice strawberry cheesecake with a thick graham cracker crust. Go ahead and wet down that cotton. And it is going to be a little bit difficult with this because it's a stub nose, but what we can do is go ahead and very lightly pour liquid right into that tank. It should fall right in there because we have small, tiny little gaps between our cotton and the feed holes. And there you go. So she is wicked and juiced and producing plenty of vapor. Now one last check to make sure I did everything right. We're going to flip it upside down, see if any liquid drops from it. Would you look at that? None. That's how you know you put enough cotton in it. It's nice and juiced up. So let's jump back out to normal view. We'll wrap this quick video up. So, I hope that wasn't too difficult, too quick for you guys. This thing's pretty awesome. I mean, these clapton coils really put out the flavor, and the vapor production, I mean, just look for yourself. It's right there with it. Now with this mod, with this power delivery, super smooth every time. I mean, all I have is a fire button and a potentiometer, which is essentially voltage up and down, like a little gas pedal. This thing is just, I don't know why I'm blown away by this, but every time that I put a new build in it, the flavor on this dripper is just through the roof. And there's no leaking, and every time I hit it, you might be able to see a couple bubbles there, but it's wicking juice to those coils. So every time I'm tilting it, I'm getting juice to my coils, so I don't have to drip every 5 to 10 minutes. I am pleasantly surprised by this. It's super simple. It's nice, quick, easy, good flavor every time. I mean, there's not much more that you could ask for. Maybe more power, but that's when we get into this thing. Check out our Facebook, our YouTube page right here. Hit like or subscribe so we know we're doing a good job. Leave whatever comments you want down below. Let us know what builds to do next time. Any questions or anything that I missed that I could answer, just let us know. Guess I'm checking off now. Hit that double toot.